welcome back to the Football Chuggu Podcast. My name is Thomas Durning, and today I'm joined by my co-host, Pearse McLaughlin. Hello, Pearse.
Hello, how you doing?
Doing well. On today's podcast, we will be discussing last weekend's FA Cup and Scottish Premier League results. Also discussing some significant managerial departures. Discussing the end to the January transfer window. And at the end of the podcast, Pearse will be giving a rundown of all the latest Asian football news. So we'll start off with last weekend's FA Cup results. So on the Friday, 26th of January, we had Chelsea 0, Aston Villa 0, Sheffield Wednesday 1, Coventry City 1, Bristol City 0, Nottingham Forest 0, Tottenham Hotspur 0, Man City 3. And then on Saturday, 27th of January, we had Ipswich Town 1, Maidstone United 2, Leeds United 1, Plymouth Argyle 1, Leicester City 3, Birmingham City 0, Sheffield United 2, Brighton and Hove Albion 5, Everton 1, Luton Town 2, Fulham 0, Newcastle United 2. And on Sunday, the 28th of January, the results were West Brom 0, Wolves 2, Watford 1, Southampton 1, Liverpool 5, Norwich 2, Newport County 2, Man United 4. And then yesterday, which was Monday, the 29th of January, we only had one FA Cup match, and that was Blackburn Rovers 4, Wrexham 1. So, Pearse, quite a few results to go through there. But is there one there that stands out to you? That stands out to you the most?
Yeah, well, the first one that stands out to me tomorrow the most is the fairy tale story that just continues, and that is Maidstone United beating Ipswich 2-1 away from home, which is obviously a six-tier side beating a high flying championship team that are pushing up there towards automatic promotion to the Premier League next season. And I thought Ipswich were really good on the day, created loads of chances, but they weren't clinical enough, and they allowed the Maidstone that was kind of resolute in the game. And to be honest, Ipswich left so much space open at the back. And I don't know if you've seen the goal, Tom, the goal Reynolds, the first one, the
Really good
composure
goal.
on the breakaway to then just dink the keeper. You would never expect something like that from a second-tier side. And even the second goal as well was really nicely well worked. But no, they punished them, and they thoroughly deserved to go into the next round. And long may it continue, because this just goes to show, if you fight, work hard, cover every bloody grass, and then show that composure in the final third, you've got every chance of beating the big boys, regardless of budgets or whatever, because this is what the FA Cup and grassroots football can offer. That pyramid scheme, in terms of, like, you can work your way up to the very top, and anyone can beat anyone on any given day. But I think that's going to be the biggest upset for me in the FA Cup. And I think we've got to touch on as well the Midlands derby between West
Yeah,
Brom and Wolves, which obviously unsavoury scenes between the fans. I think it was a few of the West Brom fans and amongst the Wolves fans, or vice versa. And you've seen bloody heads and people getting escorted. It was like something for, like, back in the day, like the 70s, 80s, the fun. People just fighting each other and, like,
yeah.
killing each other. It's something you don't want to see in terms of football, modern day football in 2024. But I just thought we did touch on that. Wolves obviously beat them quite comfortably, but I think the fans took it a bit too far. But they're the two standout games for me in the FA Cup last weekend.
Yeah, they're exactly the two exact results for me that stand out. Obviously, you were just touching on the Ipswich Maidstone match, which was a great upset. I love to see these kind of stories where teams that are far down the divisions and they go on such a good cup run. It's such a good achievement for them. You were saying about the first goal; it was a brilliant finish. I didn't think he meant it at first, but I think he did, and he chipped the keeper, and it was a brilliant finish. They kind of rode their luck in the game, but I mean, going to Ipswich and winning 2-1, and Ipswich have been amazing this season. They're challenging to get back into the Premier League. So that was a great result, a great kind of FA Cup result. And then you were touching on there about the Wolves West Brom match. I think that was the first time, because that's a Midlands derby, and that's the first time they two had played each other in about, I think it was about 9, 10 years. Um, and yeah, at the end, kind of the last 10 minutes of the game got halted because of crowd trouble. Um, you know, uh, but I didn't really know what was happening. But then we kind of found out that I think it was what you were saying about the fact that I think there was Wolves fans in the West Brom end, and that kind of turned into fighting and stuff. So, that's something you don't really see a lot in English football anymore. That kind of stuff where matches are getting halted because of crowd trouble. So, that was kind of different to see. I just wanted to touch, I know they didn't win the match, but I just wanted to touch briefly on Newport County and Man United. Newport County gave themselves, they gave Man United a good scare because Man United were 2-0 up. They looked comfortable. Then Newport brought it back to two each, and for a minute, Newport looked like they were going to go on and win that match. And I think if Newport were to go on and win that match, I think that would have been probably the biggest upset in FA Cup history, or one of them at least, because you didn't expect that to see that coming. But obviously, Man United did manage to pull it back. But I thought Newport deserved a shout out because I thought they played a really good match and gave Man United a real good scare. So obviously just lastly, Maidstone was my standout match, and that's now the FA Cup match is kind of finished, and I think now we're going back into the Premier League in England, and there's matches on tonight in the Premier League, which will be getting played. So don't think we'll see the FA Cup matches getting played for another couple of weeks or so. And then talking about the Premier League, we had a major bit of news last week coming out of the Premier League, which was the fact that Jurgen Klopp announced that he was going to be leaving Liverpool at the end of the season. It was a massive shock because no one expected it. And basically, he said his decision was based on the fact that he was running out of energy. He's been the manager of Liverpool for 9 years now. And in that time, he's won the Premier League, he's won the Champions League, he's won the FA Cup, he's won the League Cup. He's basically won it all at Liverpool. But he has announced that he is leaving at the end of the season. And yeah, Pearse, what do you think?
For me, I think it came as a shock, just like everyone else. I feel as if he was going to leave it to been last summer before he started his rebuild, because that team had been together for like 4 or 5 seasons. You think of Fabinho, Wijnaldum, Jordan Henderson, Roberto Firmino, Sadio Mane, Mohamed Salah. Like that was like and then obviously Naby Keita as well, James Milner. That was like the nucleus of his side that they got challenging Man City all the way, getting 100 points in the Premier League, 97 points in the Premier League, finishing second. They got to two Champions League finals, three Champions League finals, lost two to Real Madrid, and then won one against obviously Tottenham. And then obviously they won one Premier League themselves as well as obviously the FA Cup and the Carabao Cup. So, and then obviously he had to basically build a full midfield and build a new forward line. And he's done that tremendously. And they're sitting second or first in the Premier League. And they're probably favourites for me in terms of how well they're playing and the way they've re-energised that Liverpool side. I think they're really, really strong. And you think of the key injuries they've had as well. Like Robertson's been out injured for a wee while. I think he just came back. But you'd think like because they didn't really finish well. They're in Europa League this season, so they're probably favourites to go on and win that as well. But the fact is, he's rebuilt the side. They had a poor season last year, but now they're having tremendous. And I think it just came out of the blue, obviously, during the January transfer window as well. But I think it's good timing for Liverpool because they can now start the process of finding a replacement. But no, I think it's going to be a massive loss for the Premier League and Liverpool because he recently, I think it was last year, a couple of years ago, he got the keys to Liverpool. So I think the fact is that he had the connection with the fans as well, and they adore him. I think he's up there with probably the best Liverpool have ever had in terms of Shankly, Dalglish, um, in terms of the best ever managers they've ever had. And to be honest, to stay 9.5 years at Liverpool or even a Premier League side is unheard of in modern football. But no, I think for me, he will go down as a legend for Liverpool, and I think it's a sad, sad loss. And it'll be a really tough task to follow in his footsteps.
Yeah, it was a massive shock. I didn't expect that at all. Just based on the fact of how well Liverpool played this season, the fact that they're well in the title race. I think we were talking about that last week about the fact that they've got a really good chance of winning the league. And then we got the news that he's leaving. I understand his reasons because you know for Jurgen Klopp especially, yeah, he's a kind of manager that needs like a whole lot of energy, and if he thinks he doesn't need it, if he thinks he doesn't have it, sorry, then I don't see how he can carry on. I read I can't remember what it was, but I read something that he was actually close to he was actually really contemplating leaving during the middle of last season. But he decided to stay on. But I think a lot of it's to do based on the fact that how tough last season was, and the fact that there's a lot of change, and he kind of had to build a new side this season, uh, which he seems to have got right because they've had a really good season. But in terms of his legacy, as you just said, it's a brilliant legacy he's left. It really is. He's not won. He's won a lot, but he hasn't won a whole number of trophies. But he's won all the big ones. He got Liverpool their title, Premier League title back. They haven't won the Premier League in I think it was like 30 years or something. And the fact that he got them to win that was what Liverpool fans were crying out for. It got them to I think it was three Champions League finals, and he won a Champions League during that time. And this style of football, Liverpool have been treated to over the last close to 10 years has been amazing. The signings that he's made on in some signings he hasn't really spent that much money, and they've turned out to be amazing players. He's going to be a huge, huge miss for Liverpool. You know, at the moment it's quite hard to see Liverpool without Jurgen Klopp. We don't really know how that's going to go. Um, it's going to be quite strange to see that, but it's going to be a massive loss, and it is a big surprise. And I just wanted to ask you as well. Now, obviously, that we now know Klopp's leaving. Obviously, Liverpool are now going to be looking for a new manager. Is there a name there that you think would suit Liverpool? Who do you think should get the job? What do you think, Pearse?
When you look at the list of candidates that have been drawn up, I think obviously the number one favourite and obviously former player would be Xabi Alonso with how well he's doing it by Leverkusen at the current time of recording. They're sitting top of the Bundesliga, 2 points clear. And just the standard of football they've been playing, I think it's pretty similar to Liverpool in terms of high press and high energy, fullbacks bombing on. But obviously you'd have to go against maybe the the feeling obviously being a former player because the fact is you've got to look at it as who's going to challenge and the fact is he's not really had that much experience in terms of managerial. This is his first major appointment in professional football as a manager because he was at Real Sociedad B for a couple of years. And this is just, I think he's probably been a year in the job so far because he only took over last January. So the fact is, you probably maybe think it's maybe a bit too early, but the fact is, if you get maybe the opportunity to go and manage a Liverpool, it doesn't come around too often. But you've seen, for example, Frank Lampard when he took over at Chelsea, doesn't always work out, and Steven Gerrard probably um, he was talked about also when he was at Rangers, he'd go to Liverpool, but you can see that he's not capable. He struggled at Aston Villa. So I think for me, he'd probably be the one that the fans want. Maybe the board will try to appease the fans by getting Xabi Alonso. But for me, I think it's similar to when Sir Alex left Manchester United. It's massive, massive boots to fill. I'm not saying Klopp is a better manager than Sir Alex Ferguson, but I think in terms of legacy for their club, um, to replace someone like that is just unthinkable. And also David Moyes struggled and ultimately got sacked less than a year in the job. So I think it's gonna be a tough task. So I think probably the standout one that I'd probably throw in is probably a Weibel shout. It's probably Zinedine Zidane. Um, Managed Real Madrid, probably the most successful era of Real Madrid, and it's his only managerial experience to date. And he won three Champions Leagues uh, in consecutive years. Won a couple of La Ligas, Copa del Rey as well. And obviously he's one of these people that he just stopped for Real Madrid because he had no energy, similar to like Klopp. But I think if you offered him the job at Liverpool, the fact is the squad they've got, and the fact is it's not as if it's like the end of a cycle for Liverpool. This is a new beginning. This is a young Liverpool team, a young, hungry team, challenging all fronts. But I think for me, between Zidane and Xabi Alonso, but I'd probably go towards Zidane in terms of the experience. But I think Alonso with the fans and being a former player, I think that's a nice shout as well. But no, it's going to be a really tough task for Liverpool to replace Jurgen Klopp.
Yeah, it's got yeah, as you said, it's going to be such a massive, massive you know, job for anyone who gets a job. I mean, it's because of the legacy he's left at Liverpool. You know, it's just going to be so hard to kind of replicate him. And also, he's like so loved by the Liverpool fans. It's like like I can't think of another manager in the world apart from Jurgen Klopp that's loved by the fans so much than him. You know, he just has respect of every Liverpool fan. You know, and they're devastated the fact he's leaving. So it's going to be a massive job for whoever gets it. And then in terms of the favourite and who I think will get it, I do believe I just have a feeling it will be Xabi Alonso. You know, it just kind of makes sense. It kind of written in the stars a wee bit. You know, Xabi Alonso's you know, he's at Leverkusen and the job he's doing there is really, really good. You know, they look like they're going to go on and win the Bundesliga this season. You know, and the style of football that they play as well, it's pretty different to Liverpool, but you know, it's a good style of football that they play. And it just kind of looks like it's written in the stars a wee bit. The fact that Xabi Alonso is going to get the Liverpool job. You know, I certainly wouldn't be surprised if he did get it. And then you were saying there about Zidane, you know, it's quite a good option there, quite a good shout. That Zidane could get it. You know, there's a couple of, you know, you've got De Zerbi at Brighton, who, you know, you never know. He might get it. You know, you've got Postecoglou because he grew up as a Liverpool fan. You know, his idol I think was Kenny Dalglish. So I don't know if that will happen, but like, you know, you know, obviously the Postecoglou was a fan when he was a child. You know, maybe that might pull him in, but I doubt that will happen. Um, but you've got a whole set of candidates there for Liverpool. Their assistant manager at the moment, I think his name's Pep Linders. You know, he says he is leaving because he wants to be his own manager. So you never know. Maybe Liverpool might say, "Oh, start here." You never know, but it's going to be such a massive job for whoever gets it. And then I think a lot of Liverpool fans have to worry about the Man United thing when Sir Alex Ferguson left. Man United have just gone downhill. I think it's slightly different, and these scenarios are slightly different, but you know, it's important that they get it right. And yeah, at the moment, I think it looks like it's going to be Xabi Alonso, but we'll see what happens. Quite a long way to go still. We'll talk about another bit of another managerial departure, which is another massive one. We found out on Saturday night that Xavi, who is a Barcelona manager, he announced that he's going to be leaving Barcelona at the end of the season. This was announced just after Barcelona got beat by Villarreal 5-3 at the weekend. Barcelona have had a tough season. I think the fourth in the Liga, or third. But they've had a really tough season this season. And Xavi's announced that he's going to leave. He said that he thinks it's the best for the players. He thinks that they give them freedom from now until the end of the season, and then he's also said that he doesn't feel like he gets respected enough for being a Barcelona manager, and he says it's really tough, to be the Barcelona manager because of all the criticism you get. And he made another few points. So yeah, Xavi's going to be leaving Barcelona in the season. So once again, Pearse, what's your thoughts?
Well, I don't th I'm not surprised really. I follow La Liga closely. In terms of obviously supporting Real Madrid. But with Xavi being, like you say, probably one of the greatest midfielders of any generation, especially Barcelona's probably one of the top three midfielders, along with Iniesta and Busquets. Came back as a manager after having had spells over in Al Sadd where he finished his playing career. And he had them playing tremendous football kit in Barcelona, and it was like a duck to water. It just took off immediately. But it was brilliant domestically. But in terms of European, they'd probably some humiliating defeats. They failed to qualify for the Champions League group stage 2 years running. They get knocked out of the Europa League twice, shockingly, because if you're in the Europa League, Barcelona, you expect them to go and win it. That didn't happen. In terms of last year, they won La Liga at a canter. They were brilliant. Some humiliating defeats against Real Madrid, where they just blew them away. But then this season, it's just been poor in terms of all over. Like Lewandowski's not scoring enough goals. Their defence is far too leaky. And like you said, he'd been knocked out by Bilbao in the Copa del Rey. Beat Villarreal at the weekend 5-3. So they're out of the Copa del Rey. They're well off in the title race in La Liga. Also still in the Champions League. Last 16. But in terms of like, and they were knocked out obviously the semi-final of the Super Cup de España as well. So it's not looking good. He's only got one trophy, two trophies left to play for. But realistically, both pretty tough to do, considering how inconsistent the side have been, and obviously they've lost young Gavi for the season as well. So, and like you can, like he's saying, like you mentioned there, with he doesn't feel he's getting respected. I think that's to do with the board. I don't think he's getting the backing to go and strengthen, and obviously he's having to work with the transfer embargo and financial fair play, like because Barcelona have been run poorly the past 10 years or so in terms of financially, with overspending with transfers, that he's limited with what he can do. And I think he's done brilliantly with the promotion of La Masia. It's similar to when Chelsea had the transfer embargo and they had to play some youth players like Mason Mount, Loftus-Cheek, Reece James, just to name a few, and it worked in their favour. But I think it's going to have to keep continuing. Like Barcelona are just walking at a loss every year, so they just need to keep producing players. And there's some talented players, but you're putting too much pressure on young players, and eventually it's going to tell, because if you're playing the same players, young players, like 50, 60 games a season, it's going to burn them out, and you need to bleed the youngsters in gradually. But I think in terms of legacy, it's going to tarnish it a little bit, because I think the fans have turned on him a little, which is sad to see, because for me he's one of the best players in of his generation. But no, it's not a shock for me. In terms of who replaces him, I just don't know at this moment in time. Obviously, Toki Arteta being a former player as well. But I think anyone would love to go and manage Barcelona under any circumstances, because, like you say, it's an elite club. It's one of the top two. You'd want to go manage them or Real Madrid. So it's exciting times, but we've got you covered here.
Certainly do. In terms of, yeah, obviously Xavi leaving at the end of the season, I'd agree with you. I'm not so surprised about it because he's been under so much pressure the last kind of month or two. The results haven't been going his way at all. As you were listing all the the cups that he's been knocked out of. You know, and as you also listed the fact that they're conceding lots of goals and they're not really their kind of star men aren't really scoring the goals like Lewandowski. So it's been a really tough season for him. And yeah, I'm not so surprised that he's going to be leaving at the end of the season. Um, you know, I'm slightly surprised at the fact that how badly their season's gone because last season they obviously won the league and they hardly conceded any goals last season. But defensively they were rock solid. They hardly conceded any goals at all. So I was quite surprised at that. How badly defensively they've been this season. So yeah, obviously now Xavi's made a decision about the fact that he's going to be leaving. Then he was also talking about the fact that you know he thinks it's difficult to be the Barcelona manager because of the criticism you get. Obviously, I'm not. We're both not. We don't live in Spain, so we don't see it all every week. But I'm sure Guardiola left Barcelona for that reason because he just felt like he didn't get the respect enough from like the media in Spain. So I don't know. There could be a point there. I'm not too sure. But in terms of who's going to replace him, again, it's a difficult one. I'm not. There's no real standout candidate to be the next Barcelona manager. Uh, you know, you've got Luis Enrique at PSG. Could he maybe make a return? Maybe the Girona manager, Mikel, I think his name is. You know, obviously Girona have been top of the table this season. I mean, they could end up winning the league, and you know, Barcelona might come calling for him next season. We don't know. But yeah, Xavi leaving, and we're both in agreement that we're not so surprised that that's kind of happening. So we'll move on to last weekend's Scottish Premier League results. So I'll just quickly go through them. So the results finished: Celtic, St Mirren 0, Rangers 1, Celtic 1, Ross County 0, Hearts 2, Aberdeen 0, Kilmarnock 2, Hibs 2, Livingston 1, Dundee 4, and St Johnstone 1, Motherwell 1. So, Pearse, which match stands out to you the most?
For me, I think it's the big match. For me, it was Hearts 2, Aberdeen 0 at Tynecastle. And also that's basically a shootout for third position in the league this season, I think. Um, and obviously, I thought Hearts were brilliant on the day. Thought they deserved a win. But it was quite a tight affair at times, especially in the first half. Both sides going into break 0-0, and then obviously Hearts got a penalty in the second half, and Shankland has missed I think 3 penalties in a row, so he's now off penalty taking duties, and George Grant dispatched it expertly. And then I don't know if you've seen the Shankland goal late on. It's just honestly, it's just what he does. To be honest, it's week in week out. It's like another Shankland wonder goal. You think the Edinburgh Derby goal he got, the winner, and you think the one he scored in St Mirren on the half turn, he just without even any backlift just rips it to the top corner. Well, it takes one touch and Travella's it right in the top corner. Past Keller Roos, who's a big goalkeeper and a pretty decent goalkeeper at that, especially in SPL. And I thought it was just another string to his bow. And obviously, there's talk of Shankland staying or Shankland going. A new contract's been offered today. So it'll be interesting to see if he'll sign that or not. But for me, I think he's a standout player. He's a top goal scorer in the Scottish Premiership this season, and it's a variety of goals he's scoring. And the fact is, he's missed 3 penalties in the last 3 games, and he's still scoring goals for fun. It just shows the quality he's got. He can drop deep, he can link up the play, and for me, he's a difference maker for Hearts. And I think if they lose him, um, I think Hearts would drop down in the league positions because I think he's that important to them. But for me, that was the standout fixture of the SPL this week, last weekend.
Yep, it's exactly for me as well. Hearts to Aberdeen 0. You know, I think that result will probably finish third in the table. You know, they've got quite a good gap now in terms of between third and fourth. Um, you know, and they've been such a good run recently. So I think it will be Hearts that finish third in the table, and then you've got Aberdeen, who really struggling at the moment, kind of not getting results, and Barry Robson's under a whole lot of pressure. Aberdeen fans really not happy at all. And I think they're playing today at the time of recording this. I think they're at home to Dundee. And if that result doesn't go their way, then I wouldn't be surprised if Barry Robson could lose his job. We don't know. Um, but that is my standout match from um, the Scottish Premier League last weekend. Um, I just wanted to briefly touch on the Livingston 1 Dundee 4. A great result for Dundee, but for Livingston, it's every week it's just looking more difficult for them to stay in the league. They've got quite adrift at the bottom of the table, and they haven't had a really good transfer window. So yeah, it doesn't look likely that they're going to stay in the league this season. So I just wanted to touch on that. But my standout match from last weekend is the Hearts 2 Aberdeen 0 match. We'll just touch on briefly the transfer window. So we've got the January transfer window finishing tomorrow. We've had it's been a pretty quiet window. There's not been a lot happening. But I just want to ask you, Pearse, is there anything that you've seen the last week that stood out to you in the January transfer window? What do you think?
Well, I think the biggest one was probably the Kalvin Phillips to West Ham. I think that just solidifies that midfield for West Ham. Souček, Phillips, Ward-Prowse, that's solid, and you also get the creative players in front of that. And obviously that's two players in one, Ward-Prowse and Phillips, that have now replaced Declan Rice, because Declan Rice could do both roles in terms of getting forward and defending. And obviously that allows Phillips to then actually go and play some football and being a reckoning for the Euros. And I think that's what a lot of players are doing. And another one that's came to me today is obviously there's talks ongoing at the moment between Nottingham Forest and Copenhagen for the transfer of Scott McKenna, which I think is a tremendous bit of business if he can go there, because like you say, he's been frozen out of the Nottingham Forest side, and he'll be wanting to force him into Steve Clarke's Scotland squad for Euros as well. And obviously Copenhagen are in the Champions League last 16, and they'll be playing Manchester City, so the fact he'll be playing Champions League football if he goes there, and obviously they're third in the league at the moment, only 2 points behind the top side. So the fact is he can go and potentially win the Danish league, as well as compete in the Champions League, and obviously get yourself in that Scotland squad for the Euros, which will be vitally important for Scott McKenna, because he's a quality player that just needs minutes, similar to Kalvin Phillips. So they're the two standout transfers at the moment.
Yeah, for me, it's just one, and that's the Kalvin Phillips to West Ham. I think it's a really good bit of business for West Ham. Obviously a really good player. Hasn't had a lot of minutes at Man City, but I don't think he'd have any problem at all getting into that West Ham team, and it kind of makes our midfield even more stronger. Uh, you know, um, apart from that, I haven't really saw anything that's really stood out to me this January window. It's been really quiet. Not really a lot happening, but we've got one more day of it. And next week, we should have a bit more kind of news about who's kind of like what kind of players have left and joined other clubs. I'm sure tomorrow there'll be a bit more kind of news coming out. But yeah, my standout one from this week has been Kalvin Phillips to West Ham. So for the final part of the show, Pearse will now give his Asian football roundup.
Yeah, so Pike Seung-Ho, 26-year-old midfielder, South Korean, has just signed for Birmingham City in the Championship, having his contract expired with Jeonbuk Hyundai Motors in the K-League One. So the fact is he's spent 3 years in South Korea with Jeonbuk, won virtually everything there was to win. He's played 15 times for the South Korean national team, and played at the World Cup in 2022, scored in the last 16 against Brazil. So the fact is he's a really good midfielder, can play a 6 or an 8 position, and this is what he had to say in terms of joining Birmingham City. I'm really happy to be part of this club and this team. I'm really excited. I can't wait to start. since she's young, I have followed this team, and I want to watch and play football in England. It's always been my dream. When Had Birmingham was interested in me, I was really happy. I've known the club since I was a young kid, so after meeting the manager and the directors, I decided to come here. Pike Seung-Ho will now wear the number 13 jersey. Yeah, so that was the breaking news in terms of transfer. Now we'll move on to the Asian Cup. And so South Korea qualified for a round of 16, which we played pretty soon. So they qualified following a 3-3 draw against Malaysia in the final group stage game, which left them second place in the group. So South Korea have only managed 1 win in the group, and that's now 2 draws in a row. Some sections of the media and fans alike are now starting to question Jurgen Klinsmann's management style. Having struggled to score goals from open play, as they are very reliant on set plays, this will need to improve, as South Korea have drawn a tough tie in the round of 16 against Saudi Arabia, who are now managed by Roberto Mancini. Yeah, so South Korea drew 3-3, scored through Jong Young-woo, Lee Kang-in's free kick and Son's penalty in added time, and he conceded 3 goals the second half, one being in the 105th minute, virtually the last kick of the game, which was obviously devastating for South Korea. But now they play Saudi Arabia, and kickoff starts in 10 minutes. So that's so today, the 31st of January. So the match report for the South Korea 3, Malaysia 3 is on the Football Chuggu website, and I also have a match report up later on tomorrow for the South Korea Saudi Arabia. And Japan have also qualified for the round of 16 of the Asian Cup for a 3-1 win over Indonesia, which sees Japan finish also in second place in the group. So that's Group D, which with 2 wins and 1 defeat. Hajime Moriyasu suffered a shock defeat on match day 2, where they suffered a 2-1 defeat to Iraq. And I'm sure it will have a learning curve for Japan to be properly prepared for the round of 16 tie, where they'll face Bahrain, who are managed by Juan Antonio Pizzi. The Liga fans will remember him for being former manager of Valencia only a few years ago. So it'll be a tough fixture against the former Valencia manager, and there are no easy fixtures in the Asian Cup, as it's already shown anyone can beat anyone. So that was Wednesday, 24th of January, Japan 3, Indonesia 1. So Ayuso Ayeda got a double, and then a Hubner on goal later on, and then Indonesia got a consolation goal right at the end. And also, so round of 16 tie for Japan, they will face Bahrain, and that's set for an 8:30 p.m. kickoff on the 31st of January, and that is Korean Southern Time kickoff. So the match report is also live in terms of the Japan-Indonesia game, and I'll also have a match report for the Bahrain versus Japan match. And don't worry, Football Chuggu's got you covered for all things Japan and South Korea, with news on the podcast and more match reports on the way. Stay tuned, as Football Chuggu has got you covered, and that's all your latest Asian football news.
Thank you, Pearse. And thank you, everyone, for listening to this episode of the Football Chuggu Podcast. This podcast will be available to listen to on the Football Chuggu YouTube channel and also the Football Chuggu website. Thanks for listening, and see you soon.
Bye-bye.